When police responded to a 911 call from apartment for 112, they discovered something impossible. That apartment didn't officially exist. At 1:48 in the morning, the city's emergency dispatch center received a chilling call. The voice on the other end was barely a whisper, strained with terror. "He's inside. Please hurry. Apartment for 112. And then, just as suddenly as it began, the line went dead. Silence. Dispatchers tried calling back, but there was no answer. The call was real, the building address was legitimate, and the GPS ping confirmed the caller's location. The raw fear in that whispered plea was enough to dispatch to patrol cars immediately. They arrived at the downtown high-rise in under 5 minutes, sirens off, expecting to confront a home invasion in progress. The building was quiet, the lobby dimly lit and empty. The officers checked the directory, their flashlights scanning the list of tenants. Something was wrong. The building only had for 111 apartments. There was no apartment for 112. The building blueprints confirmed it. The top floor, the 4th floor, went from apartment for 110 to 411, and that was it. There was no sign of a break-in, no shattered doors, no panicked residents. Everything was still. They woke the building's superintendent, a tired-looking man who had managed the property for over 20 years. He was adamant. There has never been an apartment for 112, he insisted, annoyed at being woken up. The floor plan doesn't allow for it. Yet, as the officers took the elevator to the 4th floor, one of them noticed something strange. The elevator panel was old, the buttons worn from years of use. And there, tucked away in the corner, was a button that had been crudely scratched out. The plastic gouged and faded, but you could still make out the faint numbers underneath .412. Someone had tried to erase it, to make it disappear. Driven by a mix of confusion and professional duty, the officers decided to do a thorough sweep of the 4th floor. The hallway ended exactly where the blueprint said it should, at the door of apartment for 111. But next to it was a small, unmarked door that looked like it led to a maintenance closet. It was steel, industrial, and completely out of place. The superintendent hadn't mentioned it. Behind this door, they found a narrow, dusty hallway that defied the building's architecture. It was a dead space, a corridor that simply shouldn't exist. It was dark, and the air was thick with the smell of stale, undisturbed dust. And there, at the very end of this impossible hallway, was another door. A simple, dusty metal door, and painted on it, so faded it was almost invisible, were the numbers for 12. The doorknob turned easily. It was unlocked. Stepping inside, the officers' flashlights cut through the darkness, revealing a small, furnished apartment. Everything was coated in a thick layer of dust, as if it had been sealed off for decades. The furniture was old-fashioned, the style dating back at least 20 years. A single lamp flickered erratically on a small side table, casting dancing shadows on the walls. On a dusty dining table sat an old rotary-style phone. One of the officers picked it up. The dial tone was dead, but when they checked the call history on a modern call logger they brought, their blood ran cold. The last outgoing call was made at 1:48 a.m. The destination, 911. As their lights swept across the room, they noticed something else. The faded, peeling wallpaper was covered in writing. Scrawled in what looked like charcoal were dates, names, and a chilling phrase written over and over and over again, covering nearly every inch of the wall. "He comes back." A deep dive into the police department's cold case files unearthed a disturbing piece of the building's history. 15 years ago, a man named Evan Cole lived in apartment for 112. According to the records, he vanished without a trace. His friends and family were interviewed. A missing person report was filed, but he was never seen again. The official report stated that the apartment was later renumbered and integrated during building-wide renovations. But that didn't make sense. Renovations could change a number, but they couldn't make a physical room vanish from existence. The superintendent, the blueprints, the very structure of the building. They all screamed that this room was never here. It was clear that someone didn't just want the apartment renumbered. They wanted it completely forgotten, erased from memory and from the map itself. Back at the precinct, detectives were desperate for a lead. They decided to reanalyze the original 911 call, running it through advanced audio enhancement software. They filtered out the static, isolated the caller's terrified whisper, and listened again. This time, they heard it. A second voice, buried deep in the background noise. It was calm, male, and impossibly close to the caller. It wasn't shouting or threatening. It was just a quiet, matter-of-fact whisper. And it said, "You can't leave this room." The detectives froze. They ran the voice through their database, comparing it to old audio files. And they got a match. A perfect match. The voice belonged to a recording taken 15 years ago from an interview conducted with the friends of a missing person. It was the voice of Evan Cole. The final piece of the puzzle came from the building's security cameras. The footage from the night of the call showed something that defied all logic. At 1:46 a.m., just 2 minutes before the 911 call, the camera positioned at the end of the fourth-floor hallway captured a blurry figure of a man disappearing into the maintenance hallway. At exactly 1:48 a.m., the 911 call was made from inside the hidden apartment. Then, at 1:50 a.m., the camera overlooking the maintenance door glitched, the screen turning to static for a full 30 seconds. When the picture returned, the main hallway was empty. The officers arrived at 10 a.m. The cameras covering the exits, the stairs, the lobby, none of them showed anyone leaving the fourth floor. No one ever came out of that maintenance door. In the end, apartment for 112 was officially sealed, this time for good. A brick wall was built behind the maintenance door, and the building's map was updated once more, cementing the official lie. The case was closed, filed away as an unsolved mystery, a prank call from a ghost. Life in the building returned to normal. But weeks later, late one night, the 911 dispatch center received another call. It was a faint whisper, choked with the same unmistakable fear. "He's inside. Please hurry. Apartment for 112. Then the line disconnected. Some places aren't haunted. They're hungry.